Greg Davis here with Priority Talk Radio. Thank you for being with us. We are having a very special edition we're talking predatory gambling and revealing the truth behind gambling operations. Les Bernal, the executive director of the national organization Stop Predatory Gambling, in studio with me. And if you're hearing this on our audio radio broadcast or our podcast, there's also video access to this as well at our social medias, Priority Talk. So we do hope that you'll tune in for all of these very special segments. They're going to be in all of our outlets. So Les is with us. We were just talking about what predatory gambling, what that means, and just the essence of what gambling operators do. It is predatory. So much money is lost. He's given the numbers in our previous segment. And that's money that could be spent in the economy, could be saved, could be invested. That's bad for the economy, of course. And Les, really, gambling operations are different than other legitimate business operations. Tell us what the differences are, because some people may just see this as a business like any other business.
Right. So it's a critical point for all of your listeners to understand, Greg, and that is there's a false perception that gambling is just like any other business, and nothing could be further from the truth. So what separates online gambling, commercialized sports gambling, regional casinos, and state lotteries from every other business, including other vices like alcohol, marijuana, and tobacco. So even those have issues. I'm not defending those, but this is even more different than those other vices, okay, is that in this business there's an adversarial relationship between the gambling operator and the person who's gambling, okay? So it's a big con game. Commercialized gambling is a big con game. Citizens are conned into thinking that they can collect money in a scheme that's designed to ultimately get them fleeced. So let's put like kind of a real life analogy on this. If I go out for some barbecue, I go buy a ticket to an University of Alabama football game. I order myself a glass of sweet tea. That's what you receive in return. There's a one-for-one exchange. When you put your money down in commercialized gambling, what you receive is the lure that you might win cash. Okay, it's a financial exchange. That's the key phrase. Gambling is a financial exchange, but it's a financial exchange that's mathematically stacked against you, so that inevitably you lose your money the longer you keep doing it. Success only comes at someone else's expense. All right, so that's why like commercialized gambling. That's the reason why it's illegal here in Alabama and in every other state, except for you have to make a special bills for it, is because commercialized gambling is a form of financial fraud. Okay, it's a form of consumer financial fraud, just like price gouging and false advertising, both of which are illegal. And it's illegal for you and I to run our own gambling operation in other states, even where gambling is legal. It's only legal when you partner with the state, because it's a form of financial fraud.
Yeah,
so,
you and I can't do it.
That's right.
You have to partner with the state. They have to allow you to do it.
Yeah, and this big con has resulted in
takes the free market out of it, certainly.
Yeah, there's no free market. This is the antithesis. This is the ultimate version of crony capitalism. Okay, this crony capitalism results in life-changing financial losses for millions of Americans, and many Alabama citizens have been spared the financial suffering and the public health suffering because this hasn't been in their communities like it has been in other places in the country. So you're far better off because you haven't gone down this road. Les
Bernal, our guest, and during this segment we're sort of wanting to lay out some facts about gambling. Number one, it's a con, and I think you just said that. It's a con. I think next is that gambling, and many people don't realize this, it's a known, dangerous, destructive addiction. Gambling is addictive. Tell us about it.
Yeah. So when we say it's addictive, that's just not you and me saying that. Like the science in this country now recognizes gambling as a known, dangerous, and addictive product. So gambling is now recognized as an addiction, and as a known, dangerous, and addictive product, just in the same level as heroin, cocaine, and opioids in the American Psychiatric Association's DSM-5. So those of you who may not be familiar with what the DSM-5 represents, it's like the mental health Bible. Health insurance companies use it. Your doctor's office uses it. Hospitals and so on, like healthcare providers, they use it. It's the principal source for mental health diagnosis. They recognize gambling now as a known dangerous and addictive product, just like opioids, heroin, and cocaine. That's the reality of this. And so we don't push other known dangerous and addictive products in the middle of sporting events, like we do for gambling. Like you can be watching a game on a Sunday afternoon with your kids, a football game, and in the middle of it, they're pushing these extreme forms of gambling, exposing kids and so on to they're normalizing them to this dangerous and addictive product. We don't do that for cigarettes. We don't allow opioids to market right in the middle on television in broad daylight to people. That's what. So, and you and I still can't do this unless we partner with state government. And so, and the key thing to know about this is the business model for commercialized gambling. It's based on addiction. Okay, especially on the online gambling stuff. If you've watched any kind of sporting event over the last 2 years, online gambling, online sports gambling is pushed relentlessly. Almost every other advertisement is to push a sports gambling betting app. More than 86% of online gambling profits come from 5% of the gamblers. Okay, so the casual gambler is irrelevant to the business model. It's all about turning you, maybe someone who's never gambled before, into a relentless gambling addict. And the way they do that is, here's $2,000 worth of free gambling wagers if you sign up on the app.
Which it's really not free.
Right, I understand. but that's how they lure
tell
you in.
That.
And then once you're in, like, there's bonus bets. Like, hey, you haven't bet this week. Here's $100 worth of free bets. If you got to.
Well, you said the right word. They lure you in.
Yeah.
And so, we'll talk more about that going forward. Let's talk about its effect on kids. I want to get through some of these just basics before we start getting into more of the details.
Yeah.
What about how does gambling and predatory practice affect our kids? What is the story there?
So today, across the United States, we have an epidemic of child and teen gambling in every state that has legalized online sports gambling. You have kids of all demographics now with their parents walking in to Gamblers Anonymous meetings. I always tell the story. When I was growing up as a kid, I used to collect, baseball cards, sports cards of my favorite teams and my favorite athletes. Today, you talk to any middle school or high school principal in a state where they've legalized online sports gambling and ask them, especially what the young boys in these schools, the middle school boys and high school boys are talking about at the cafeteria tables, in the school locker rooms, on the playgrounds. They're not talking about who their favorite athletes anymore. They're talking about who they're betting on, parlay bets, in-play wagers, like relentless discussions on gambling. And so they're normalizing this known dangerous and addictive product for kids. So you have kids today, like the kids, and anyone who has a child, just look how much they play video games today. The idea that you're going to encourage kids now who already have grown up with screens in their whole life to transition them over, to lure them into doing online gambling apps. Like it's a dangerous and addictive product, just like opioids and cocaine, and we're feeding them this relentlessly through the internet. And states are partnering with the industry to do this. And so you literally have this massive epidemic today. Like you have one of the very prominent New York problem gambling counselors said the number one demographic calling into their helpline today in the state of New York, it's not grown-ups, it's kids, it's teenagers, young adults in their early 20s who have been crushed by online sports gambling. So who are we doing this for? This is all grassroots movement for state lotteries or casinos or online gambling. It's driven by very powerful financial interests, okay, who stand to benefit from this. They're the only people that win in this business. The rest of us, whether you gamble or not, you pay even if you don't play.
Wow, very good. Let's talk about, and I love that, you pay even if you don't play. That's a fact as well, isn't it?
Sure is. And so for all you non-gamblers out there sitting there, you kind of know this is a bad idea for your community and your family. You'd be like, well, it's not really going to affect me. Maybe I'll get some tax relief. Just pause for a second and look at the states that are the biggest predatory gambling states in this country. New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Illinois, California, Connecticut, and so on. All of these states, okay, are also your states in the worst financial condition. Okay, they promise, hey, here in Pennsylvania, we're gonna reduce your property taxes if you legalize casinos. Like, it's part of the big con. The business itself is a con. The idea that somehow you get any tax relief from this, it's a big con. Predatory gambling is the ultimate budget gimmick. And you, the taxpayer, over the long term, you end up paying higher taxes for less services because of this gimmick that comes into your state. Because who do you think pays? When you have, that money I mentioned earlier, when $1 trillion of personal wealth is being lost by the American people over the next 6 years.
Who makes up the difference?
Who do you think pays for their hospital care? Who do you think pays for their housing? Who do you think pays for their food? Who do you think pays for the criminal justice system because they commit crimes to feed their addiction? You, the non-gambler, pays for all this. Okay, and the other way you pay for it, aside from higher taxes, is you also experience a lower standard of living, because when you have all that money being lost on commercialized gambling as a business, it's a sterile transfer of wealth, right? So if I go buy a new car, I spend money at a local restaurant, and so on. There's an economic multiplier effect by that. Predatory gambling, the impact of it is the equivalent of taking out a $100 bill from your wallet, throwing it into the street, and then going out and paying somebody to pick it up, paying the minimum wage to pick it up. It's just a sterile transfer of wealth from millions of people's pockets into the hands of a very few rich people.
Wow. And one more fact I want to hit on is that really the little guy is exploited as well.
Yeah. So predatory gambling exploits the little guy. Okay,
I had to get a drink. All right.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. So we talk about the real money being lost here. That the American people are losing more than $250,000 a minute to this. So we've a nation of citizens who are small earners, who could be small savers, and we've turned them into a nation of habitual bettors. So to put real numbers on, like state of Georgia, okay, cause here in Alabama, oh look, Georgia's got a lottery. Other states have a lottery around us. Georgia,
all states around us do.
Yeah. So Georgia has a $50 scratch-off ticket. Okay, a $50 scratch-off ticket they're selling in low-income communities where citizens make $7.25 an hour as a minimum wage. Okay, that's the same minimum wage here in Alabama. Okay, you got to work a full day's labor in Georgia. Okay, at a minimum wage job, washing dishes, whatever,
one scratch off
before you can lose it. Your whole day's whole day's wage. Okay, in 5 seconds on a $50 scratch off ticket, pushed to you relentlessly by your own state government. Okay, we talk about, that's the American dream perverted. So if you're somebody who believes making America better, it runs through changing the voice of American government today, which is in every state in this country, the dominant voice of American government is to push more and more extreme forms of gambling. It's what we advertise to the American people more than anything else.
Les Bernal with Stop Predatory Gambling in studio with us. This is a series of video, audio, radio, and podcast segments that we're bringing to you, very special. And we've just been trying to get some of the basic facts out. And as we move forward in this, this is the second of what's going to be numerous segments. We're going to begin to move into some myths going forward about casinos. We've given an overview, we've given some facts, and now we want to dive into some myths, which will get much more specific. Lots of the information that Les talks about, in fact, almost all of it, he's documented it on the website, stoppredatorygambling.org. In particular, I would go under the frequently asked questions, and much of what you'll hear him say here today is documented there. And so if you hear something and you're like, what was that? Where did that come from? Go finding it, stoppredatorygambling.org. All right, stay with us. Continue to listen. Find the next segment if you're watching these videos. And stay with us right here. It's Priority Talk Radio with Greg Davis.